They say the forbidden forest doesn't just take your life. It takes something far more valuable, your destiny. But here's what the villagers didn't know. Sometimes the forest doesn't take it all. Sometimes it gives back tenfold. Amara was supposed to die in that forest. Her stepmother made sure of it. She sent her there with an impossible task, knowing full well that no one who entered the forbidden ever returned. But Amara did return, and when she walked out of those trees 3 days later, she wasn't the same frightened girl who went in. She carried with her a secret, a power, and a debt that would change not just her life, but the fate of her entire village. By the end of this story, 3 people will face the forest's judgment. One will rise to unimaginable heights. One will lose everything she schemed to gain, and one ancient being will finally be free. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. In the prosperous village of Ifemelu, nestled in the shadow of the forbidden forest, there lived a girl named Amara, whose story began long before she was born. Her mother, Chioma, had been special, not in the way people tell stories to make the dead sound better than they were. Chioma was genuinely different. She could predict rains before the clouds gathered. She knew when someone was lying just by looking at their eyes. And she had dreams. Vivid, prophetic dreams that came true with unsettling accuracy. The village elders whispered that Chioma had the gift, a blessing passed down through certain bloodlines, connecting them to the spirit world, but Chioma never spoke of it. She married Obi, a wealthy cloth merchant, and seemed content to live an ordinary life. Then Amara was born. From the moment she entered the world, strange things happened around her. Flowers bloomed out of season when she laughed as a baby. Animals followed her wherever she walked. And sometimes, just sometimes, her mother would look at her with an expression of deep sadness mixed with fear. "She has it stronger than I ever did," Chioma whispered to her husband one night, not knowing that 7-year-old Amara was listening from behind the door. "The forest will call to her one day. When it does, we must be ready." But they never got the chance to prepare her. Amara was 10 years old when the fever came. It swept through the village like an invisible hand, taking the young and old alike. Her mother fought it for 2 weeks, her body burning with heat that no herb or prayer could cool. On the night she died, Chioma gripped Amara's hand with surprising strength. "Listen to me carefully, my daughter. You are special. Your grandmother was special. I am special. And one day the forest will test you. When it does, remember this. The forest only takes what is freely given. Never forget that. Never." Those were her last words. Amara's father, Obi, was devastated. For a year, he threw himself into his merchant work, traveling to distant markets, leaving Amara in the care of his sister. He was running from his grief, but grief is faster than any man. Then the matchmakers came with their solution, Adaora. She was a widow from a neighboring village, beautiful and poised, with 2 daughters named Ije and Uloma. She had been married to a successful trader who died under mysterious circumstances, a fall from his horse that broke his neck. But no one questioned it too closely. Accidents happened. Obi, lonely and desperate for stability, married Adaora within 3 months. That's when Amara's real education began.
Adaora was brilliant in the way a snake is brilliant. She never struck directly. She never left evidence. She was patient, methodical, and utterly ruthless in her pursuit of one thing, her daughter's advancement and her own security. At first, she played the perfect stepmother. She braided Amara's hair. She asked about her studies. She even defended her once when Ije made a cruel joke about Amara's late mother. But Amara noticed things. Small things. How Adaora's hands would tighten into fists when Obi showed Amara affection. How she would accidentally forget to save food for Amara after long merchant trips with her father. how Ije and Uloma would smirk when Adawara assigned Amara extra chores. Still, Amara said nothing. Her father seemed happy, and she didn't want to burden him. Then, 6 months after the wedding, her father announced a major business trip. "I'll be gone for 2 months," he said, hugging Amara tightly. "I'm traveling to the coastal markets. When I return, I'll bring you that blue cloth you loved, enough to make 10 dresses." "2 months is too long, Papa," Amara said, though she smiled. She was 12 now, old enough to hide her fears. "I know, my jewel, but this trip will secure our future, all of our futures." He glanced at Adawara and her daughters. "Take care of each other while I'm gone." He never came back. The news reached them on a rainy evening 6 weeks later. Obi's caravan had been attacked by bandits. No survivors, no bodies recovered, just scattered cloth and empty wagons found on a lonely road. Amara's world shattered for the second time. At the funeral rites, she sobbed so hard she couldn't breathe. The village women held her, rocking her, whispering condolences that meant nothing. Adawara didn't cry at all. She stood in black clothing, her face carefully arranged into an expression of grief, accepting sympathies from villagers who praised her for being strong. But Amara saw her stepmother's eyes. They were calculating, measuring, planning. The very next morning, everything changed. "Wake up," Adawara said, shaking her roughly. "Your father is dead. His debts are now mine to pay, and you will earn your place in this household." Amara sat up, confused. "Debts? Papa was wealthy. He was foolish with his money. He left nothing but obligations. My daughters will continue their education. You will work." "But Papa wanted me to finish school. He promised." "Your Papa is dead." Adawara's voice was ice. "His promises died with him. Now get up. The compound needs cleaning, the goats need tending, and my daughters need their breakfast." That's how Amara became a servant in her own home. Every morning she woke before dawn, while Ije and Uloma slept peacefully. She swept, cleaned, cooked, fetched water, and tended animals until her hands bled and her back screamed with pain. At night she slept on a thin mat in the storage room, while her stepsisters slept in her old bedroom, the room her mother had decorated with such love. Meals became scarce. Adawara controlled every morsel of food, giving Amara just enough to survive, but never enough to thrive. Within months, Amara's clothes hung loose on her frame, her bright eyes dulled with exhaustion. The cruelty wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Ije and Uloma delighted in tormenting her. They'd destroy things and blame Amara. They'd accidentally spill her food. They'd mock her appearance, her dead parents, her lowly status. "You're nothing but an orphan now," Uloma would whisper. "A charity case. You should be grateful we let you stay here at all." But Amara endured. She had her mother's strength and her father's stubbornness. And sometimes, late at night, she would remember her mother's dying words. "The forest will test you one day." She had no idea how soon that day would come. 2 years passed in this hell. Amara was now 14, though she looked younger due to malnutrition and exhaustion. She had almost forgotten what happiness felt like. Then came the day that would change everything. It started with Ije falling ill, not with a common fever or stomach ailment, but something strange and terrifying. She woke up screaming, claiming she saw shadows moving in the corners of her room, shadows with eyes. The next day, she couldn't move her legs. Adawara panicked. She called every healer in the village, every medicine man, every herb woman. They came with their potions and prayers, their chants and charms. Nothing worked. Ije grew worse. The shadows she saw multiplied. She stopped eating. Her skin took on a gray pallor that made her look like she was already dead. Desperate, Adawara did something she'd never done before. She humbled herself. She sought out Mama Nkirika, the oldest woman in the village. Nkirika was ancient, no one knew exactly how old, and she possessed knowledge that other healers didn't. Knowledge that came from the old ways, the ways that danced dangerously close to the spirit world. Nkirika came to the house, leaning on a gnarled walking stick, her eyes milky with cataracts, but somehow still seeing everything. She examined EA for a long time, touching her forehead, her wrists, her feet. She smelled the air around the girl. She listened to sounds no one else could hear. Finally, she turned to Ataroa with an expression of grim knowing. "Your daughter has been touched by the forest spirits," Enkirika said, her voice raspy as wind through dead leaves. "Something you did has angered them." Ataroa's face went pale. "I've done nothing. I don't even go near that cursed forest." "The spirits don't care about proximity," Enkirika replied. "They care about balance, about justice. Tell me, Ataroa, have you wronged anyone under your care? Have you taken what wasn't yours to take?" For a brief moment, Ataroa's eyes flickered to where Amara stood in the corner, listening. Then she schooled her features back to innocence. "I have wronged no one." Enkirika's knowing smile suggested she didn't believe that for a moment. "Then perhaps it's a test. The spirits sometimes choose families to test their worthiness." "A test?" Ataroa latched onto this like a drowning woman. "What kind of test? What must I do?" "Not you," Enkirika said slowly, her cloudy eyes turning toward Amara. "You." Everyone in the room turned to look at Amara. She felt her stomach drop. "Me?" Amara whispered. "You," Enkirika confirmed. "I see your mother's gift in you, child. It pulses like a heartbeat. The forest spirits know it too. They've been waiting for you." Ataroa's mind was already racing, seeing opportunity in this pronouncement. What must she do to save my daughter? "There is a flower that grows only in the deepest part of the forbidden forest, the Moonpetal. It blooms only during the 3 nights of the blood moon, which begins tonight. The flower has the power to break spiritual curses, but it comes at a price." "What price?" Amara asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "The forest demands a trade. To take the Moonpetal, you must give something of equal value to the spirits, something precious, something that costs you deeply." "Fine," Ataroa said immediately. "Amara will go, tonight." "Wait," Amara protested. "No one enters the forbidden forest during the blood moon. It's the most dangerous time. The spirits are at their strongest." "My daughter is dying," Ataroa shrieked, dropping all pretense of caring about Amara's safety. "You will go, or you will leave this house with nothing. Do you understand?" Amara looked at Enkirika, hoping for some support, some alternative. But the old woman simply gazed at her with those milky eyes and nodded slightly, as if to say, "This is your destiny." "What if I refuse?" Amara asked quietly. Ataroa's laugh was bitter. "Then EA dies, and everyone will know it was because you were too selfish to help. The village will drive you out. You'll have nowhere to go, no one to take you in. You'll starve in the streets." "It wasn't a choice at all. It was a trap." "I'll go," Amara whispered. Enkirika approached her, moving surprisingly quickly for someone so old. She pressed a small leather pouch into Amara's hand. "Inside are 3 things: a white stone, a black stone, and a red thread. When the forest tests you, and it will test you, you'll know how to use them. Trust your instincts, child. Your mother's gift runs strong in you." "How do you know about my mother?" Amara asked. Enkirika's smile was sad and knowing. "Your mother and I were friends once. She made me promise to watch over you if anything happened to her. I'm sorry I waited so long, but some things must unfold in their own time." Before Amara could ask more, Ataroa shoved a large basket into her arms. "Bring back the Moonpetal. Don't return without it." Uloma, standing beside her ailing sister, smiled cruelly. "The forest keeps those who entered during the blood moon. We'll probably never see her again." "Good," EA croaked from her bed, her voice weak but still venomous. "Father always loved her more anyway." Amara felt something crack inside her chest. Not her spirit. That had been breaking slowly for 2 years. No, this was different. This was anger. Pure, righteous anger that burned away fear. "I'll get your flower," she said quietly, looking at each of them. "But when I come back, things are going to change." Ataroa laughed dismissively. "If you come back."
as Amara walked toward the door and Kurika called out one last thing. Remember, Amara, the forest only takes what is freely given, and it repays what is freely given tenfold. The words echoed her mother's dying message. Amara stepped out into the twilight where the moon was already rising, red as blood, red as revenge, red as rebirth. The forbidden forest waited.
The path to the forbidden forest wound through the village outskirts, past abandoned shrines and markers that warned travelers to turn back. Amara had seen these markers her whole life, had heard the stories of people who entered the forest and never returned. But she'd never understood why it was called the Forbidden Forest until now. As the blood moon rose higher, casting everything in an eerie crimson glow, Amara felt it. A presence, ancient, vast, and aware. The forest wasn't just a place, it was alive, conscious, watching. The trees at the forest's edge were massive, their trunks so wide that 5 men holding hands couldn't circle them. Their bark was dark, almost black, and carved with symbols so old that no one alive could read them anymore. Amara took a deep breath and stepped between 2 of the ancient trees. The change was immediate and disorienting. Sound vanished. The usual orchestra of a forest, birds, insects, rustling leaves, was gone, replaced by a heavy silence that pressed against her ears like hands. The air felt thicker, harder to breathe, and it smelled of earth and something else, something like incense and iron and time itself. The crimson moonlight barely penetrated the canopy above, leaving the forest floor in deep shadows that seemed to move independently of any light source. Amara clutched her basket tighter and began walking deeper into the forest, following what she hoped was a path. Within minutes, she was completely lost. Every tree looked the same. Every shadow held 1,000 shapes. That's when she heard the whispers. At first, she thought it was wind, but there was no wind. The air was still as death. Yet the whispers continued, coming from all directions at once, speaking in a language she didn't know, but somehow understood. She's come. The daughter returns. She has the gift. Will she pay the price? Will she break the cycle? "Who are you?" Amara called out, her voice swallowed by the oppressive silence. "Show yourselves!" Laughter rippled through the darkness. Not cruel, exactly, but not kind either. Ancient and amused, like adults watching a child try to understand something far beyond their comprehension. Then she saw them. Figures made of moonlight and shadow, neither fully solid nor fully transparent. They emerged from behind trees, rose up from the ground, descended from the canopy above. Dozens, maybe hundreds. The forest spirits. They were beautiful and terrible all at once. Some had faces, others just impressions of faces. Some looked almost human, others decidedly not. But all of them were focused on Amara with an intensity that made her skin prickle. One spirit stepped forward, or perhaps flowed was a better word. It was taller than the others, its form more defined. It looked like an old man with a young man's eyes, or perhaps a young man with an old man's bearing. Time seemed to work differently on it. "Amara, daughter of Chioma, granddaughter of Adane, you have entered our domain during the blood moon. Do you know what this means?" "I'm here for the Moonpetal, to save my stepsister." The spirit's laughter echoed again, sardonic and knowing. "Your stepsister," the lead spirit repeated, "the one who torments you daily. The daughter of the woman who stole your inheritance and made you a slave in your own home. That stepsister?" Amara felt tears sting her eyes. "Yes." "Why?" The question hung in the air like a blade. "Because she's dying. Because it's the right thing to do." "The right thing," the spirit mused. "Interesting.
Your stepmother didn't send you here out of love or fairness. She sent you hoping you would die. She sent you to dispose of a problem, yet you speak of doing the right thing. I know what she is, Amara said quietly, but that doesn't change who I am. The spirits fell silent, considering this. Then the lead spirit smiled, a strange, unsettling expression on such an otherworldly face. You are your mother's daughter indeed. Very well, we will honor the old tradition. You may seek the Moonpetal, but you must pass 3 trials first. Are you willing? Amara remembered in Kiruka's words, "The forest will test you." I'm willing, she said. Good. Your first trial begins now. Tell me, Amara, what do you desire most in this world?
The spirit gestured, and the ground before Amara began to shimmer. A pool of water appeared, though there had been only dry earth moments before. Its surface was mirror smooth, reflecting the crimson moon above. Amara approached carefully and looked into the water. At first, she saw only her own reflection. Then the water rippled, and images began to form. She saw her mother, Chioma, young and beautiful, standing in this very forest. She was speaking to the spirits, making some kind of agreement. Amara couldn't hear the words, but she saw her mother place her hand over her heart and nod solemnly. The scene shifted. Now she saw her grandmother, Adana, a woman she'd never met. Adane was also in the forest, also speaking to the spirits. There was power radiating from her, visible as a golden light that surrounded her body. The scene shifted again. This time Amara saw herself, but older. She was standing in a place she didn't recognize, surrounded by people who looked at her with respect and gratitude. The golden light that had surrounded her grandmother now surrounded her too. What does it mean? Amara whispered. Your bloodline has always been connected to us, the spirit explained. Your grandmother was a great healer and seer. She made a pact with the forest. In exchange for her gifts, she would protect the balance between the human world and the spirit world. Your mother inherited this duty, but died before completing it. Now it falls to you. What? Amara stepped back from the pool. I never agreed to any pact. No, the spirit agreed. But you have the gift. It's in your blood, your bones, your soul. You cannot escape it any more than you can escape breathing. The only question is, will you accept it willingly, or will you fight it until it destroys you? Amara's mind reeled. This was too much, too fast. She'd come here for a flower, not to learn she was bound by some ancient agreement made before she was born. I don't understand, she said helplessly. You will, the spirit said kindly, in time. But first, your third trial. This is the most important one, Amara. Listen carefully. The spirits all drew closer, forming a circle around her. The air grew heavier still, charged with power that made her hair stand on end. To claim the Moonpetal, you must offer something of equal value. Not gold or jewels. Those mean nothing to us. You must offer something that costs you deeply, something precious. What will you give? Amara's hand went to the leather pouch Kiruka had given her. Inside were the 3 items: a white stone, a black stone, and a red thread. Instinctively, she knew what to do. She pulled out the red thread. This belonged to my mother, she said, though she didn't know how she knew. It's all I have left of her. And you'll give it freely? The spirit asked. Tears streamed down her face, but she nodded. If it saves a life, even the life of someone who's been cruel to me, then yes, I'll give it freely. The moment the words left her mouth, the red thread began to glow.
It floated from her hand and dissolved into particles of light that scattered like fireflies. The spirit sighed, a sound like wind through leaves, like rain on stone, like time itself moving forward. "You have passed all 3 trials," the lead spirit announced. "You answered with your heart, not your head. You saw truth without flinching, and you gave freely what cost you most. These are the marks of your grandmother's lineage." The forest floor began to glow, and there, growing from seemingly nowhere, was the Moonpetal. It was the most beautiful thing Amara had ever seen. Pure white petals that seemed to contain their own light, arranged in a perfect spiral. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat, and smelled of honey and moonlight and hope. "Take it," the spirit said. "But remember, this flower will cure your stepsister's affliction, but it will also reveal truth. When she is healed, all lies will be exposed, all hidden cruelty will come to light. Are you prepared for what that means?" Amara carefully plucked the flower and placed it in her basket. "I'm prepared." "Good. Then go, daughter of the forest. Complete your task. But know this, you may leave tonight, but you will return. You are bound to us now, as your mother was, as your grandmother was. This is not a curse, Amara. It is a calling." The spirits began to fade back into the shadows, but before they disappeared completely, the lead spirit spoke one final time. "Your stepmother believes she sent you here to die. Show her that the forest does not deal in death, it deals in transformation. And you, Amara, are about to transform more than just yourself." The journey back through the forbidden forest should have been terrifying, but Amara felt different now. The shadows that had seemed menacing before now felt protective. The whispers in the darkness sounded less like threats and more like encouragement. When she emerged from the tree line, the blood moon was still high but beginning to fade. She had been in the forest for hours, though it had felt like minutes. The village was dark and quiet. Everyone was asleep, or pretending to be. Amara knew that people had probably stayed up waiting to see if she'd return, then eventually given up and gone to bed, assuming the forest had claimed another victim. She walked through the silent streets towards Adora's house. She could no longer think of it as home. When she reached the door, she found it locked. Of course it was. Adora hadn't expected her to come back. Amara knocked firmly. Silence, then shuffling footsteps. The door cracked open and Ulama's face appeared, eyes widening in shock when she saw who it was. You came back?" Ulama stammered. "I told you I would," Amara said calmly. "Let me in. I have the Moonpetal." Ulama stumbled backward, and Amara walked inside. Adora appeared in the hallway, a lamp in her hand. When she saw Amara, alive and well, holding the basket, her face went through a journey of emotions: shock, disbelief, anger, and finally barely concealed disappointment. "You actually found it," Adora said flatly. "I did. Where is Ija?" "In her room. Where do you think?" Adora's voice was sharp with frustration. She'd been hoping to be rid of Amara. Now she'd have to come up with a new plan. Amara walked to EJ's room. The girl was worse than before, her body racked with tremors, her eyes rolled back in her head. The shadows she had complained about were visible now, even to Amara. Dark tendrils that wrapped around EJ like parasitic vines.
Amara carefully removed the Moonpetal from her basket. The flower pulsed with that same gentle light, and immediately the shadows began to recoil. "How do I use it?" Amara asked the air, half expecting the forest spirits to answer. And they did, their voices echoing in her mind. "Crush 3 petals in water. Make her drink it. But remember,
When the lies are washed away, only truth will remain. Amara found a cup of water on the bedside table. She carefully plucked 3 petals from the moonpetal and crushed them between her fingers. They dissolved instantly, turning the water a soft silver color. "Help me lift your head," Amara said to Uloma, who had followed her into the room. Together they raised EJ enough to tip the cup to her lips. The silver water poured into her mouth, and, for a moment, nothing happened. Then EJ's eyes flew open, fully conscious for the first time in days. She gasped, her whole body arching upward as the shadow tendrils shrieked. An actual sound, high and piercing, and evaporated like smoke in sunlight. The room fell silent. EJ blinked, looking around in confusion. What happened?" "You were cursed," Amara said simply. "Now you're healed." EJ's gaze focused on Amara, and suddenly her eyes filled with tears. Not the manipulative tears she'd cried so many times before, but real ones, heavy with shame and regret. I remember everything," Amara whispered. "Oh God, Amara, I remember everything I did to you. Everything Mother made us do. All the lies, the cruelty, the stolen food, the broken things we blamed on you. I remember it all, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Adaora, standing in the doorway, went pale. "EJ, what are you saying? You're still confused from the illness." "No, Mother," EJ said, her voice growing stronger. "I'm not confused. For the first time in years, I'm thinking clearly. And I'm ashamed. Of you. Of Uloma. Of myself most of all." Uloma stepped forward, angry now. "You're being ridiculous. We treated Amara exactly as an orphan with no family should be treated. We treated her like a slave," EJ shouted, surprising everyone. "We stole her inheritance. We made her life hell. And why? Because Mother was jealous of a dead woman, and we were too weak to stand up to her." "That's enough," Adaora said coldly. But there was panic in her eyes now. "No," Amara said quietly. "Let her speak. The Moonpetal doesn't just cure physical afflictions. It cured spiritual ones too. Like the affliction of living with lies." EJ turned to Amara, tears streaming down her face. "Your father didn't leave debts. He left wealth. So much wealth. Mother hid it all. She's been using it to fund our education, our clothes, our food, while telling you there was nothing. The debt story was a lie. Everything was a lie." The room seemed to spin. Amara had suspected some of this, but hearing it confirmed was like being struck. "Where?" Amara asked, her voice deadly calm. "Where is my father's wealth?" Adaora's face was a mask of rage now, all pretense gone. "You little fool," she hissed at EJ. "You've ruined everything." "Where is it?" Amara repeated. EJ pointed with a shaking hand. "Under the floorboards in Mother's room, in a locked chest. The key is in her jewelry box." Amara turned and walked toward Adaora's room. Adaora tried to block her way, but Amara pushed past with a strength she didn't know she had. In the bedroom, Amara found the jewelry box and, just as EJ said, a small key. She used it to unlock the chest she found hidden under loose floorboards. Inside was her father's wealth: gold coins, precious fabrics, jewelry, property deeds. Everything Obi had worked his whole life to accumulate. Everything he'd meant to pass to his daughter. Adaora had stolen it all. Amara stood up slowly, holding the property deeds in her hand. One of them was for this very house. "This house belongs to me," Amara said, her voice shaking with barely controlled emotion. "My father bought it before he died. The deed is in my name. You've been living in my house, spending my money, treating me like a servant in my own home." "You can't prove any of this," Adaora desperately said. "Those documents could be forged. Who will believe an orphan girl over a respectable widow?" "I will," said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Mama Nakirka standing there, leaning on her walking stick. Behind her were several village elders, all looking grave. "We heard shouting," Nakirka explained. "We came to see if the girl had returned from the forest. It seems we arrived at exactly the right moment."
She looked at Adaora with those milky eyes that saw everything. "I've suspected you for a long time, Adaora. Your first husband's death was too convenient, your quick remarriage, your treatment of Amara. But I needed proof, and the spirits don't give proof to humans. They give truth, and the Moonpetal reveals all truths." Amara handed the property deed to one of the elders. He examined it carefully, then nodded. "This deed is legitimate and registered with the village council. This house and all properties owned by Obi legally belong to his daughter, Amara." Adaora's face went from red to white to gray. She was ruined, and she knew it. "You will return every coin you stole," the elder continued, "and you will leave this house immediately. Your daughters may choose to stay or go with you, but you, Adaora, are banished from living under this roof." "You can't do this," Adaora mouthed open and closed like a fish out of water. "I'm a widow with nowhere to go. This is cruelty." "Cruelty?" Mama Nikirka's laugh was dry as dust. "You speak of cruelty. You who worked a child half to death? You who stole an orphan's inheritance? You who sent that same child into the forbidden forest during the blood moon, hoping she would die?" The elders murmured among themselves, their faces growing harder. "I didn't," Adaora started. "Don't lie. Not now. The Moonpetal's magic still lingers in this house. Every falsehood you speak will reveal itself. Look." And it was true. When Adaora tried to lie, a strange shimmer appeared around her mouth, like heat waves rising from hot ground. The elder saw it and stepped back in shock. Adaora's shoulders slumped in defeat. She had lost, completely and utterly. Uloma, who had been silent this whole time, finally spoke. "Mother, we should go. We should go now before this gets worse." But EJ shook her head. "No, Uloma, I'm staying. I'm going to make this right. I'm going to help Amara rebuild what we destroyed." "You're choosing her over your own mother?" Uloma's voice was shrill with disbelief. "I'm choosing what's right," EJ said firmly. "Something I should have done years ago." Adaora looked at her daughter with utter contempt. "Then you're no daughter of mine." "Good," EJ said quietly. "I don't want to be." The elders gave Adaora 1 hour to pack her essential belongings and leave. As she gathered her things, moving with jerky, furious movements, Amara watched from the doorway. She felt no triumph, no joy in this moment, only a deep, weary relief that the nightmare was finally over. Nikirka approached her and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "How do you feel, child?" "Empty," Amara admitted. "I thought I'd feel victorious, but I just feel empty. That's because revenge doesn't fill the holes that cruelty leaves behind. Only healing does that, and healing takes time."
Adaora finished packing. She stood at the door, a bag in each hand, her face a mask of bitter hatred. "You'll regret this," she said to Amara. "All of you. The spirits don't give gifts for free. Whatever they gave you, they'll take back tenfold. You'll see." "The spirits only take what is freely given," Amara replied, echoing what she'd learned in the forest. "And they repay what is freely given tenfold. I gave freely, you only ever took. That's the difference between us." Adaora spat at her feet and walked out into the night, Uloma following reluctantly behind her. The door closed and silence filled the house. Then EJ began to cry. Deep, wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. "I'm so sorry, Amara. I'm so sorry for everything." Amara looked at this girl who had tormented her for years, who had laughed at her pain, who had stolen her food and broken her things and made her life a living hell, and she made a choice. "I forgive you," Amara said. The words seemed to break something in EJ. She collapsed to her knees, still crying, but now the tears seemed like they were washing something away, some poison that had been building in her soul for years. Amara knelt beside her and put a hand on her shoulder. "The Moonpetal showed you the truth about yourself. That's painful, but it also means you can change, if you really want to." "I do," EJ gasped. "I want to be better. I want to make amends. Please, let me try." "Okay," Amara said simply. "We'll try together." 3 months passed. The house that had been a prison became a home again. Amara restored it slowly, room by room, erasing the traces of Adeora's occupation and reclaiming her father's memory. EJ proved true to her word. She worked alongside Amara, learning humility through honest labor. At first, it was awkward. How do you build friendship with someone who once made your life hell? But gradually, tentatively, they found their way to something like sisterhood. EJ told Amara stories about the years of manipulation, how Adeora had twisted their thinking, making them believe that cruelty was strength and kindness was weakness. "She trained us like weapons," EJ said one evening as they prepared dinner together, "pointed us at anyone she saw as a threat. I'm not making excuses. What we did was wrong, but I want you to understand how it happened." "I understand, and I see you trying to change. That matters." True to the Spirit's promise, Amara's life transformed. With her inheritance restored, she became one of the wealthiest young women in the village. But more importantly, word of what happened with the Moonpetal spread. People began coming to her, not for wealth, but for help. She rendered assistance to all who came her way. As for Adeora, news filtered back to the village occasionally. She had moved to a distant town, taking work as a common laborer. The wealth she had stolen had been returned to Amara, leaving her with nothing. Some said she'd tried to remarry, but her reputation preceded her. Some said she'd grown bitter and twisted, blaming everyone but herself. Uloma had left her mother after 6 months, unable to bear the poverty and humiliation. She showed up at Amara's door one rainy evening, proud but desperate. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for work. I'll do anything. Clean, cook, tend animals. I can't go back to her. I can't." I looked at this girl who had once mocked her, who had laughed when she was hungry, who had stolen her food and broken her things and made her life a living hell. And I opened the door wider. "Come in. You're soaking wet." Uloma's face crumpled. "Why are you being kind to me after everything?" "Because the forest taught me something. Cruelty breeds cruelty, but kindness can break the cycle. Come inside, Uloma. Let's break the cycle together." It wasn't easy. Uloma carried guilt and shame like physical weights. She worked twice as hard as anyone else, as if trying to earn redemption through exhaustion. It took months before she could look Amara in the eye without flinching. But slowly, painfully, beautifully, she began to heal too. And so our story ends, but Amara's journey continues. The forbidden forest still stands at the edge of the village, still mysterious, still sacred. But now the villagers know the truth. It doesn't take lives, it transforms them. Adeora learned too late that cruelty always returns to its source, while kindness ripples outward forever. Her daughters learned that it's never too late to choose differently, to be better, to heal. And Amara learned the most important lesson of all, that suffering can either make us bitter or better. The choice is always ours. What would you choose? If you were sent into your own forbidden forest, faced with impossible trials, and given the power to either heal or harm those who hurt you, what would you do? Think about it, because we all face that choice eventually, in one form or another. Thank you so much for watching this tale of justice, transformation, and the unbreakable power of a kind heart. If this story moved you, make sure to subscribe to hear more fascinating African folktales where each story comes with a powerful lesson that can change how you see the world. Until next time, may your journey lead you to your own transformation.